Hey, so remember that article I sent you a couple of days ago about Steve Jobs and what he talked about in that little video clip?
Yeah, I remember. I think it was the 1997 conference he had. He talks about focus and how a lot of people tried to be everywhere. And I think his example was Apple's. If Apple didn't fail where it had failed at the time, Apple would have gotten pulled in 18 different directions. They wouldn't have had any focus. So he decided to really focus on the three core things that make Apple what it is and what he thinks that the Apple consumers need. And he just focused on those things. And I think the way he put it, and it was kind of a poetic way to put it, is focus is saying no, not saying yes. And that's kind of relevant, with his passing and how it relates to social media. Is sometimes the best way to focus is by saying no to certain social media platforms, which is tough because we're a social media company and we want people to be involved in social media. But they can't be involved in everything if it's not right for their customers.
Right.
So by saying no sometimes, you're really helping rather than just saying yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really important to remember that doing it right in one place is way better than doing a half-assed job in 30 different places.
I agree. And with so many competitors out there, it's beneficial for companies to be in a certain niche. Is rather than spreading themselves so thin. I mean, if you do one thing great, you're going to succeed better than someone who does one thing or everything okay. And it's hold out of me.
Steve Jobs could not have said it better, buddy. I absolutely agree. I think that's something. It's really timely that that was his message, but I think it is really powerful to say no and stay focused to really perfect that one thing that you're trying to achieve.
So along those lines, Shilpa, what do you do when a client wants to be involved in everything, when they're spreading themselves too thin, but they don't realize it?
I think one thing we need to explain to them, this is something that I think we've discussed before, need to start small, start in one space, and they have to be very, very strategic about which channel they choose, kind of build their audience there before they try to do a little bit of everything. Because we've seen this with so many clients in the past where they want to do everything and in the end they end up doing nothing right.
Exactly, yeah.
So I would say, talk to them about the quality versus quantity thing. We're really big on that. That's something that when people don't understand what the social space is about, they just want to jump into everything because everyone's doing it. But it's much smarter to put your efforts in one place and be very strategic about it and, put all of your efforts into that one channel to really make sure that you're growing an audience in that one space rather than doing a little bit of work everywhere, because in the end, you really end up with nothing valuable to offer.
So, for this client, is it really client specific, or is there one particular social media channel that I should start in with everyone?
I would say it's client specific. You need to think about who do they want to talk to, and where are those people active in the social space. So for some clients, Facebook's going to make sense because they're trying to reach the mom audience, or they're trying to reach teenagers, or they have a very specific audience in mind. And if they're able to easily highlight the fact that those audiences are active on Facebook, it makes it a much more worthwhile effort for them to go out and try to build a conversation around whatever it is that they stand for in that space. Everyone wants to kind of jump into Twitter, but we've seen it so many times where, competitors of our clients, when we review their social interactions, they kind of just use Twitter as a sounding board. That's not what Twitter's for, right?
Yeah.
And people don't realize just because something like Twitter is free, that it costs something, and that something is time and concerted energy and human resources put into pure man hours of monitoring and engaging and building conversations on Twitter.
Rather than using Twitter as just a place to post all of your content, actually have as a place to have a conversation and build those personal connections with your clients.
Right, and if you're not going to do that, then you might as well just skip Twitter completely. And it's one of those things where if you don't have the man hours to put into it, then it's not for you. Then you have to find what's right for you. For LinkedIn, the level of engagement typically is even less because the norm sort of is posting once a week and trying to get more.
Whereas Twitter is a multiple times a day type of situation.
Exactly. So there's so many things that play into it. Industry obviously, is a big factor. If your audience is typically sort of the end user, the average consumer, you're probably not going to do so well on LinkedIn. But if you are more of a B2B type of company, then LinkedIn is probably the place to look, a serious place to look at.
Yeah.
Because that's where
I've noticed when we're doing some influencer research, a lot of the communities were built around, specific business-to-business products, trying to create a community even just around one product that is geared towards businesses, not as much towards the client-specific products, towards the consumer products.
Right.
You're not going to see a lot of people talking about, how to use Coke or how to drink Coke. There's not going to be that LinkedIn community, but there's a lot of communities around a certain, business software solution or something like that, and where they build this community. And that's, so I guess it's understanding your client's needs as opposed to just, pushing your name out there.
That's exactly it. That's what they need to think about. And I think our role as advisors to them is to coach them through that thought process and kind of make strong recommendations, but those recommendations need to be based on sound principles that we think make the most sense for them in the end, for what they're trying, the goals that they're